Well, when Rock So Fresh started winning competitions, that's when people started to realize, well, hey, this is what I have to do.
That's what I've always said.
Unfortunately,
I've always said that's really what it takes to change things. Unfortunately, is if you want the scene to change, you have to rig it. you have to put the judges in charge that are interested in what you're interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily something to laugh at, like that's a joke. I mean, that's what Queen Bee was. That's what B-Boy Summit was.
Yeah.
Is that they basically put the people that they thought really knew what was good in charge of who wins. And when that started winning, the people who were losing had to start doing that to win. I mean, it happened in Arizona for sure. You know, everybody was doing power moves until people doing footwork started winning, and then the guys that did power moves started doing footwork also, and then now they had power moves and footwork, so the guys that just did footwork had to start doing some power moves. You know what I mean? The whole thing was all who was winning. And it's unfortunate, but that's pretty much the driving force in breaking.
True.
I know you don't pretty much keep up with all the breaking today, but like when you did, when you're still doing it, or what can you see today? What are some positive things you see today in breaking, and what are the negative things that you see?
Well, kind of a tough question because I didn't really pay that much attention. I don't really watch videos.
Yeah.
I don't really go. I mean, I've never been interested in the message boards. I always thought that was completely pointless.
Yeah.
Whoa. But you know, so I can only say the things that I've actually seen that I'm around, or that you know, every once in a while somebody sends me a video or something and I watch it. The positives are, and I think they're actually they're more positives now than I would have thought.
Yeah.
The positives now are that there's enough kind of dance rhetoric that you have to dance a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is already improvement from when I started. Because when I started, the word dance never even, I mean, except attached to break, it was never used. No one ever talked about dancing, and they never did either. They just basically did moves.
Yeah.
But now it's sort of in the air. There's a kind of, it's imminent, you know. So people have to do it. I think that's a good thing for the group growing up and getting into it now, is that it's being taught that it is a dance, that listening to the music, dancing to the music is already a part of what you have to do. So you learn it first. So that's positive. There are also there's so much innovation in terms of moves that the options have increased like 1 billion-fold in 10 years. I mean, God, in 93 or 94, a guy that could do continuous flares or a few like measly combinations, like flares into swipes or something, into windmills, like those kinds of move combinations were like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like 15 guys in the world could do it, and the most of us were just, you know, sitting on our butts. But now it's sort of like there's so much stock, there's so much option that even if you just start now, you can build up a stock relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So I think if you have this kind of, you're already thinking about dancing, and you already have dance like bred into the next generation, but then there's also more option. There's a lot less chance of them getting bored by just doing the same old thing, which people tend to think that's what the dancing part is you just repeat, and that eventually you got to start doing all this stuff, and then that's when it gets interesting. So I think if you get both at the same time, you have something that actually captivates the younger generation, which really just care about the sort of iconic things about breaking, the head spins and the windmills and the big moves. So those are very positive things to me. Negatives, and there are probably a few more positives too that I'm forgetting. There's some good mentalities out there, some good representatives.
Yeah.
The negatives. The negatives are that the closer we get to it being a dance, the better that gets. The more people that you get that, the more you get the rebellion, and the more you get the naive crowd who wants to take dancing out of its best form and make it into something that is accessible and easy, and that basically they can say, "Oh, I'm also doing that." So you get people who just sort of they step on beat, basically. They basically take all their stock and they just choreograph it so that it always hits beats. So you get all these people who, they're not really dancing, but you can't really say they're not dancing.
Yeah.
Because they found a loophole, which is there's a metronome going off in the background, which is basically going, and then you get a whole crowd of people going, and so what you have is the dancer who is not listening to anything in the song, but just basically keeps putting each move on the like, or the So in a way, they found this great loophole. This certain group of people of this generation that is, I can call that dancing, and they're right. You can basically say that's dancing, but it's not really what I'm talking about. So it kind of erodes what I think is interesting about the fact that people are talking about dancing from the bottom out, because you're still doing it enough, and it allows you to go into competitions, and you can't have a judge say, I only care about dancing, but everything you did was on beat. It's hard to defend that position if they're on beat. So I think that's a negative, is that you always have... Here's a funny thing about hip-hop in general, but breaking is really like this, okay? In most dances, if you pick the people in other dance styles, whether it's tap, ballet, or whatever, okay? And you look at the people who are really the great dancers, these guys started when they were like 6. And they weren't really considered great until they were like 25. I mean, they had been dancing for decades to get to that point. Yeah. In breaking, though, this is how it works. You're 13 or 14 years old. You find breaking. By the time you're 16, you should be world class. You should already be a great dancer with all the moves. You should be able to win all competition. I mean, that's sort of the mentality, is that somehow in 2 to 5 years, you are supposed to develop 2 decades worth of practice. Yeah. Overnight, literally. And not just in terms of stuff, but in terms of actual dancing. I mean, if you're... this is what I mean by like the Skeet and Pete and those people, was that when I saw them, it was like, this is dancing, man. I mean, this is like, these guys have been dancing for like years.
The real stuff.
Really doing it. Not just like they got a lot of stuff. They were just really dancing. And you see a guy that's like I said, 15, who's on beat, but they're trying to pretend, even in their own mind, that they're great dancers already. I'm saying, not possible. It's not possible. It takes a mature individual. I don't mean that in the goofy sense of like, now you drink wine and have a steady girlfriend or something. I mean it like, I mean it like, you've been doing it long enough that basically it's second nature, and you don't think about the old ways of competing in the old things, that you know that it's really just about going out and doing what you do well. Yeah. That's just not possible in like 2 years. It's just not possible. But it actually, that's the way it's considered in breaking. I mean, you have all these kids that are like, they're 18 years old, they've been dancing for 3 years, and they basically think, yeah, I'm one of the top 10 in the world. And I'm like... I don't really see how that's... I mean, maybe it's possible. Maybe there's like some anomaly who's just genetically predisposed to be great dancing. I don't know. I've never seen it.
What would a great b-boy look like to you then? Like, what would this b-boy be doing that would be great in your eyes?
I mean, they'd be dancing. I mean, ultimately. I mean, it would all be about angles, and I mean, that's, there's not a single b-boy that I could pick that it would look like. If there was, I would already have an idea of what that perfect b-boy looked like. I can't. Yeah. And I don't think it's worth picking one. I think that you have lots of different personalities, lots of different body types. I mean, just as a simple example, to me, Legs, whatever you think about his personality, his breaking to me is, it's not always the best dancing, but it's always good stuff. Man, every time he goes out, he has great angles, great freezes, just beautiful breaking, in my opinion. Yeah. Beautiful breaking. But Legs is pigeon-toed. He's tall. He's kind of got like that big bob and peanut head, you know what I mean? That's kind of like loose neck. Very funky in that sense. Yeah. I can't ask of, say, somebody like Little Lep to look like that, because he's just not, he don't have the body for it. It can't look like that. And so the idea that that's what I'm talking about as the best b-boy, that's not what I really mean. You know what I mean? I can't pick one. Everybody has a little bit of a different look and different things. the best b-boys to me would be basically the ones that really dance, that are funky, that interpret the music. You know,
Wow.
they go out to a song and everything fits all the time, every time. Like, you know, my dream, basically, for myself, what both probably hurt and helped me was that what I really wanted to do as a b-boy was to be Skeeter Rabbit.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to be Skeeter Rabbit and be a popper or a locker or something. That was not really my thing. But I wanted it to be like, have that kind of intensity, have that kind of option, and have that kind of funk, which could go back and forth. He could be very hard and firm and kind of like battle style.
Yeah.
And he could also be like going out to Prince and you know, like almost dancing for girls, you know, like being very soft. And man, it was just incredible for me. So the perfect b-boy to me would be somebody who has like what Skeet had, but was a b-boy. You know, basically.
As someone who doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, they don't exist at all. And maybe, I don't know if they ever will, or if they do, if it will take, you know, another 20 years for the dance, which is, you know, technically a very young dance.
Yeah.
Maybe it will just take the dance to get through this other phase that it has to go through, which is just the building up of stuff. We have to figure out all of the possible options that are going to be the breaking stuff. Not that people won't obviously always make up moves, but that the majority of the kinds of things that are possible will sort of get developed. And maybe once we get over that hump of innovation, maybe that will happen, that you'll get a b-boy who now has all this stuff, but also grew up in an environment that was really about dance and has some natural ability and can sort of do both at will, you know? And 15 years later, they'll be that person. I don't know.
Why don't you? I know you still dance sometimes. From time to time, you'll come out.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you b-boy as much as you did back then?
Well, a number of reasons. One is that, you know, even as a b-boy, I never really thought that's what I was going to do. You know, it was always, I mean, there was a small time period where I thought, oh, maybe I could even make money doing this for a little bit or something, you know. But I never really thought that. I've been an artist my whole life, and I've always felt like that's what I was going to do was be an artist. So basically my focus has shifted to that. I spent a lot of time on breaking and a lot of time on thinking about it, and it's changed who I am, you know, changed me as a person dramatically. But I wanted to really focus on being an artist and spend some time really devoting myself to it. And then second was that I just really wasn't, I had pretty much lost interest in what was happening, you know, around me. Like I said, maybe I'm mistaken here, but I felt like there was some tension between even the people who were my allies, you know?
Yeah.
The other people who I had no personal problem with didn't really particularly like me, or maybe it's not that they didn't like me, but that there was this kind of competitive line between us that we couldn't really respond to one another in some way. I don't really have an answer for it, but I really felt kind of alone again, you know, that it was just me doing it. No one ever responded to anything I was doing. Maybe periodically somebody would say, oh, that was cool, or this or that.
Yeah.
And even then it would really just be a couple people who I knew.